Hi, I'm David Facone, and this is the Grow Your Network, Grow Your Business podcast, the show where we discuss how quality relationships lead to business success. From entrepreneurs to business development professionals and beyond, you will learn the true value that quality networking will have on your business. Welcome to the Grow Your Network, Grow Your Business podcast, where you will learn how trusted business relationships lead to increased revenue. I'm your host, David Facone, founder of Be Sure, where we believe that growing your business could be difficult, but joining us is easy. Today's episode is sponsored by Essex Suites, located in Verona, New Jersey. Essex Suites is a co-working community offering affordable private offices for 1 to 8 people with flexible terms, a virtual office address, dedicated desks, and conference rooms equipped with video conferencing. For more information or to book your own workspace, please visit essexsuites.com. Our guest today is Michael Maloney, owner and chief creative from BrandForce5. Michael spent most of his career creating marketing campaigns for high-profile brands while working on Madison Avenue. Since launching BrandForce5, Michael has been utilizing his global experience on a more local level, helping small to medium-sized businesses connect with their customers and tell their story through imagery and branding. So Michael, welcome to our first ever Grow Your Network, Grow Your Business podcast.
Wow, thank you for having me. This is exciting.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to do this. I'm thrilled to have you here. And I think we should begin with the story of how we met. I think it's a perfect networking story. And would you like to share that with our audience?
Sure. Actually, thank you for the introduction too, by the way. That was great. I met you for the first time when at the very start of the pandemic, I was invited to come to a networking event. Unbeknownst to me, I had no idea what to expect. I've been involved in networking events in the past. I've gone to different things, but this was different because, first of all, it was in the parking lot of Applegate Farms, and I was told to dress casually and be prepared because it was the middle of summer, so it was 90 degrees, and right. Don't worry about wearing, anything business related because it was going to be 90 degrees and we were going to be outside in the parking lot. And I was told to bring a chair, which was interesting,
valuable,
and it was good information to have. And that's the first time we met. So we met, and I think the first time we met, we were probably 30 feet away from each other, sitting in a circle.
That's when social distancing began, and
that's right.
Our colleagues were committed to having some FaceTime with each other, and for kudos to you as a guest to come and even deal with all that. So thank you for putting up with that.
Yeah, of course.
So I know since we've met, I've been trying to get familiarized with exactly what you do, which I know you are a creative director, graphic designer, you're an artist, you give back to your community. What was it about art and design that attracted you to your career in the first place?
So I had an interesting start. I've always been an artist, and growing up in the Bronx, you've heard the term starving artist, right?
Sure.
You never hear the term starving advertising executive or starving, art director. So I was one of those people that was very lucky in high school to hear about the profession of being an art director working in an advertising agency, and knew right away that that's what I wanted to do. So from the get-go of probably, I would say, sophomore year of high school, I knew that I wanted to work in advertising, and that's what I wanted to do. Got my first internship working with a gentleman named Jeff Weiss, who is a fantastic creative director and a really good mentor and creative in general. And he was just one of these guys who would, come into a room with no shoes on, sit up on the table with his legs folded, and just kind of get everybody involved. And he said to me early on, he said, listen, there's a lot of different careers out there. There's a lot of things you could do, but if you can have a job where you sit in a room with people that you like and come up with ideas, that's your job. And I was like, that's for me. That sounds great.
Cool.
Over the years, finding the people that you like part is always a little bit of a challenge. You know, you end up with jobs where you don't have the best partner, you don't have the best boss or the best clients. But overall, generally speaking, I've been blessed that I've had a successful career doing what I do.
That's an awesome backstory. How long have you been doing it?
So one of the advertising principals that I worked with years ago, she said, once you hit like 20, 25 years, you don't have to be specific. Yeah. You could just say, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've been doing this for over 25 years. And funny enough, Jeff used to actually exaggerate all of our experiences over the years because myself and some of the other art directors were relatively new. And I had been there probably 6 months. And I remember him telling a client, like, Michael's been doing this for 5 years. You should listen to him. He knows what he's talking about.
Hey.
You know, so I've been doing this since let's say the early 90s, I guess. 90s. So yeah, it's been a while.
All right. Well, hey, look, a mentor once said to me, an expert knows this much more than the person that they're talking to. So since day one, you've been an expert, which is great.
That's right.
So, you know, I know that technology changes many industries, and I'm sure that it's changed yours. So since you began 20 plus years ago, how would you say the industry has changed?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So, interestingly, in college, I had a teacher who had been retired for probably 10, 15 years. So imagine now that I'm in school in the early 90s and I have a teacher who hasn't even worked since the onset of fax machines or FedEx, you know, and he's talking about how advertising is a great career and it's a 9-to-5 job and there's 2-hour martini lunches. And that's kind of what was still happening to some extent at the very beginning of my career. But one of my first years in school, they opened a computer lab. Okay. So before that, we did everything by hand, and we hand rendered type, we set type by hand. We didn't even have Xerox machines that can like enlarge things readily available. You know, they were around, they'd been invented, sure, but it was like, you know, not something that was easily available. So we had something called a Lucy, which was a big machine that you would put a drawing into on the bottom, and then you had 2 handles and you would blow it up and shrink it down. And so you could draw something and then put it into this machine, and it had a piece of glass with a light underneath it. And it was kind of like a combination of like a magnifying glass and an overhead projector, and it would shoot the image up onto a piece of paper, and you would draw from that, and you could blow things up. Yeah. So you've mentioned in this answer fax machine, overhead projector, Xerox machine. Yeah. Wow, you are dating yourself a little bit. Really,
you are dating yourself a little bit.
I know, it's crazy. But then one of my first jobs at that internship that I had, they brought in 3 Macs, and they bought 3 Apples, so everyone had a PC in their office, and they opened up like this little
Mac with the little screen that's this big.
It was all one piece. It was like, you know, all connected, and knowing, you know, having taken classes and learning the old programs that, you know, Quark Express was one of them, which is now, you know, gone. Being able to use that was great because it helped me get in the door. Gotcha. So I was one of the few people there that knew how to use the Mac and, you know, was setting type on the computer and things like that. So it was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you know, we got introduced to. We're gonna segue a little bit. We were introduced to each other by a mutual friend, mutual business colleague. You know, you giving us your backstory about how you got into the business. You've already mentioned some people that were colleagues of yours. So, how would you say relationships have played a role in your career so far?
They're fundamental and instrumental to getting anything done and succeeding in anything you do. It's so important. And I'm lucky because I am one of these people that is outgoing and friendly and warm, or at least I think I am. You are. That all those things come through.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, I actually had a boss who was a little more reserved and a little shy. And we were going to a pitch once, and we were standing outside, and I was talking to the security guard, and I just struck up a conversation with him, and we ended up having like this 15-minute conversation and just talking and talking, and then we went inside, and within 5 minutes, I'm talking to one of the women who we're pitching to, and we start bonding over kids and softball and things with our children, and my boss turned to me and he was like, "How'd you do that?" And I said, "How did I do what?" And he's like, "You're just talking to this executive," and he's like, 5 minutes ago you're talking to the guy, security guy in the front of, because I grew up in the Bronx, and I'm talking to him about the Bronx and the Yankees, and then I'm inside and I'm bonding with this, executive who we're selling the business to, and I said, I'm lucky. It just comes natural to me.
You definitely have the gift of gab.
It's funny because there are a lot of things that I do have to work on, and I do put a lot of work into, and that's one of the things that I'm lucky that I don't have to work on.
No, that's 100% true. Now, I know you only launched BrandForce5 relatively recently, right? How long have you been in business on your own?
So it's interesting because, as I mentioned, and you brought up that I've been doing this for a long time, but I've gone on and off where I've worked for big agencies, and then I had my own business, and then I've gone back to an agency. BrandForce5 is relatively new. I started at the beginning of the pandemic, so right as I was joining the Be Sure network, I was filing for LLC, I was opening up a QuickBooks account and learning how to do everything online, and working with our colleagues and the different members, I was able to help guide me and put me in the right direction, because as a business owner, it's very different. So doing what I do is I specialize in advertising and creative and branding and logo design and things of that nature. I don't specialize in running a business. So it's great that I have my partners that I could lean on and ask for advice and help.
And we run into that a lot. We run into colleagues of ours that, have some sort of skill. They're creative in some sort of way, and they want to translate that into revenue and doing things on your own and freedom and independence, but they need to lean on other people to help them be a business person day to day. So you've been in business roughly 3 years, give or take. Looking back on when you started, I know a pandemic was something that none of us have ever been prepared for in the past. But what would you do differently if you started over with BrandForce5 right now?
I would have started sooner.
Really?
So yeah, absolutely. It's so rewarding to be able to do what I do and be able to help businesses. And I know you know me well enough that that's part of what brings me joy in what I do. I would have done this much sooner.
What are you getting out of it now that you wish you would have done long ago?
I think it's the creative fulfillment overall. I've worked for a lot of brands and a lot of agencies where the advertising and the design and everything we did was very prescriptive. And yes, I do have pharmaceutical experience, but I don't mean prescriptive in that manner. I mean that it was prescriptive in that, we were specifically told, by clients and by account executives or people up above that, exactly what we wanted, what was to be executed.
Now you have a little more freedom to create.
Exactly. So you lose all of your creative mojo when you're being told, like, hey, make it red, make it round, make it small, and you're just a set of hands at that point, and you're not really getting any creative fulfillment out of it.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for that. So we met through networking. Yeah. And let's have a quick networking discussion. Sure. How would you define that word?
So networking is, there's like the dictionary definition of it, right? Of collaborating and meeting people and, either like-minded or in similar businesses. But then there's the growing your business and yourself through networking, right? So I look at it as a way to collaborate with other business owners and other people and potential clients, and also learn and use their services as well, right? Like perfect example is Jason, who is in our group. I would have never thought that I needed to look at my insurance, that I needed to change anything. Sure. We've had insurance for a long time, buying a house, buying cars, all of those things are insured, and I would have never thought like, oh, I should probably reevaluate that every once in a while, and listening to Jason talk and meeting Jason. It was like, perfect. I trust him. I'm going to give him my business and see what can happen. Little did I know I was going to save like $1,000 a year. Like, hey, if I had known that sooner,
sure,
I would have done it even quicker.
And that's definitely, I think, an intangible value of of networking the right way. On paper, I think a lot of business owners or newer business owners especially are looking for client referrals. They're looking for revenue in their pocket. But a close second benefit to that is you're getting support from people that are the experts in their field and helping guide you in your business life and your personal life. You mentioned leaning on some colleagues when you started BrandForce5. Could you put your finger on any networking big successes you've had so far?
It's funny that you say that, because that very first meeting when we came and we were in the parking lot, someone turned to me, and I'm forgetting it now for a second here. Someone turned to me and said, "Oh, my cousin is starting a business, or my cousin has a business and she needs a logo. I'm going to talk to you." Right as you were starting to talk. And then we sat there, and the meeting then went on. It was Nicole. And
I remember.
It was Nicole Violet. And so you were about to welcome everybody there, and she turned and she was like, "Hey, psst, my cousin needs a logo. I'm going to talk to you."
Amazing.
And then the next day, she called me. I hadn't even joined. I wasn't even a member of Be Sure yet. And I remember coming home to my wife and saying, "Oh yeah, there's a lot of people there. I don't know. It seems like one of those things that you're going to put into it what you get out, but is everybody going to be involved, and what's really going to happen at the end of all of this, right?" And the next day, Nicole called me, and we had a one-on-one, talked about what she does and credit repair and credit specialist, and she asked me more about what I do, and she says, "Oh, I'm gonna introduce you to my cousin because she really needs a logo." Next thing I know, her cousin is the sweetest client, the best. I've never actually met her. We've had all of our meetings online and on the phone, and she's my favorite person. She is amazing. She's Tease Tasty Treats. I think you're aware too of what she does, and she is just looking to grow her business and looking to brand. I design logos for her, stickers, packaging, all sorts of stuff, and she's so fun to work with.
So you met all of us one day, and there you go. So that was it. That sealed the deal for you.
Yep, exactly.
What plans do you have for BrandForce5 going forward in the future that you're excited about?
So we're expanding in terms of our offerings. So to circle back to how technology has changed since we've met, or since I started this rather. Websites weren't really a thing back then, right? So web design really started to come in after I had already started to rise through the ranks of advertising. So I was no longer doing the hands-on design myself as much, and I was now managing teams when advertising agencies started to offer digital services, so I wasn't the guy that was, sitting at the computer and getting into web design and web development, and UX and UI and all those things that are coming out now, including SEO and things like that. But those are the things that I'm now collaborating with other people and bringing people in to offer those things through our agency.
Gotcha. So as technology is changing and advancing, you got to change with it, and add web design, add, I'm sure, social media. I know you and I have had conversations about, hey, we got to get on TikTok, and stay tuned. Our podcast is going to be on TikTok, so watch out for us. So you're just about 3 years into being an entrepreneur after working on Madison Avenue for these big companies for many years. You're doing it on your own. You're getting support of your colleagues. What piece of advice would you give to someone who hears our podcast and is thinking about starting their own business?
If they're not networking, they need to be. That's the first thing that I would recommend somebody.
Just got goosebumps.
So
literally, I just got
the
goosebumps.
first thing I would do is tell them to reach out to you, because again, going to an event and going to a networking event is one thing, but talking to somebody like yourself and finding a group that can help you and is there to help you is amazing, because I would have never thought like, oh yeah, sure, I'm going to go to a networking group, I'm going to meet a real estate agent, I'm going to meet somebody, but are they going to give me their business?
How are they going to help me? Right.
But little did I know that, like I said, I've saved $1,000. I'm saving $1,000 a year on my insurance. I'm using, the florist. I'm using the photographer. I'm using these people for myself, and then getting business from Nicole's cousin and business from other people that are referring me and giving me business. So you yourself have given me clients.
That's right. That's right. So you don't have to wear. You do have to wear all the hats as a new business owner, but you're not alone. You don't have to do it all yourself.
Right.
You can lean on people that have come before you and have had success that way. And meeting new people, you don't know who they know.
Absolutely.
They might be in a industry that's not a complete organic relationship to yours, but who knows who's in their network, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Well, this was awesome, Michael, and I just really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us on our first podcast ever. There's nobody else I would have rather have than you to be here sitting on day one. So for our listeners out there, if you're interested in connecting with Michael and BrandForce5, you can find Michael Maloney and his team by visiting their website, which is BrandForce5, the number 5.com. That's right. And to our listeners out there, we want to thank you for joining us on the first ever Grow Your Network, Grow Your Business podcast. Please subscribe to our podcast to hear from more entrepreneurs like Michael who are building their businesses through networking. You could also like and follow Be Sure on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. I want to thank Essex Suites, our sponsor, for hosting us today. And remember, everyone, as always, business relationship building is a choice, not a chore. Be sure to be building your business relationships the right way. See you next time.